Midday Treat with NAZ Elite, a monthly podcast in which I chat with HOKA NAZ Elite team members, and you'll get a behind-the-scenes scoop on their training, racing, and everyday lives. I'm your host, Eric Senseman. You can find our monthly podcast on SoundCloud by searching HOKA NAZ Elite, and you can learn more about the faces behind the team by visiting their website, nazelite.com, their Facebook page, Northern Arizona Elite, or their Instagram and Twitter, both at NAZ_Elite. Welcome to this episode of Midday Treat with NAZ Elite. I am here this time with Alice Wright. Welcome, Alice.
Thanks.
Alice just is coming off of a new 10K PR at the Payton Jordan 10K, so we're going to discuss that, her training leading up to it, and goals going forward. So, you're in a PR.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
It definitely feels good to break that 32-minute barrier. Something I've been trying to do for a couple years now. And just to kind of slowly progress in the 10, I feel like if I can just keep on taking chunks off my time each year, then hopefully by the time I'm 40, I'll be running 29, 30.
That's how it works, right? You just slowly get faster and faster.
It's 15 to 20 seconds each year. If I could continue that trend.
That's a good trend. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think so. This is your second time on the podcast, and the first time we had you was last summer, right after you joined the team. And I think you even mentioned sub 32 as one of your goals for the the upcoming year.
Yeah, so I always said, when I break 32...
You'll retire?
No, I'll move to the marathon.
Okay.
But now I need to break 31:50, so it's just a vicious cycle, really.
Right. And so that's the World Championship standard? Is 31:50, okay.
Annoyingly this year.
And what was it in the past?
32:15.
Oh, wow. So,
yeah, it's annoying that it's dropped so much, but I'm not going to be one of those people that complains, although I just did.
Right. We'll talk about the race in detail. Before we do, so you've been with the team for about 10 months now.
Yeah.
You've run a couple half marathons. You've PR'd in both the 5K and the 10K, which is great.
I mean, it was tiny in the 5K, but honestly, it does mean a lot to me because the 5K kind of came from 2015, and I was I just can't seem to, it wasn't for lack of trying. Every year I tried to break the 5K at least 3 times. I'd race and try and get a PR, and I could just never manage it. So, even though I just managed to dip underneath it by a couple of milliseconds, it was still, that was quite, important to me to do that, yeah.
So how would you assess... we're gonna do pretend it's like school, and you're reviewing your first 10 months as a pro. What grade would you give yourself? How do you think you've done?
Do I get different grades for different things, or is it just a combined?
I guess you could give a combined, but you could maybe break it down.
Definitely A for effort.
A for effort.
But maybe a B plus for how the first. So I think I started off well. Europeans went pretty well for me. I was pleased with that. And then in the fall I got an Achilles injury, which I don't know whether that was just because I had such a long track season, or it was just a transition thing, coming to a new team and a new place. I don't know what that was, but my body just needed a break apparently in the fall, and so we had a couple of races on the plan that I didn't manage to do, so that was annoying. And then I kind of rushed into shape for Houston, and really I did as best I could there, but it wasn't what I wanted to debut in a half marathon. But I don't think it was a disgrace. And then the next couple of races, they were fine. I managed to get one win. It was the Wine 10K. It was a great race, but it was I just didn't feel, although I was happy to place well, I just didn't I wasn't happy with how I felt in the races. I just felt I was kind of wading through glue a bit in a couple of them. But it was great to gain that experience. And then I kind of went to Carlsbad, and I really just wasn't expecting anything from that race because it was a 5K, and I always say that I'm not a 5K runner, and so I just wasn't really expecting anything. I was just it's going to be so painful, but I'm just going to go for it. And then I just felt surprisingly better in that one. And then from then on, I just started to feel, I don't want to say more like myself, but I just felt so much better in races and much stronger. And I remember at Mount Sac, that's probably the strongest I felt in a 5K. And so I knew I was in pretty good 10K shape. but I was a little afraid because I did the Pacific Pursuit in February and ran like 32, I think it was 32.56. It was like a whole minute slower. And so, you know, in my mind, I was like, surely a couple months ago, I was like running 32.56. There's no way, like, and, you know, I'd love to run under 32 minutes, but it just seems like impossible to me. But yeah, it just shows like how much of a difference, like, you know, you can make that turnaround. So it was cool.
And so, as any good student, you're obviously peeking at my notes because that was my next question. But I was going to bring up Pacific Pursuit and that not going quite as well. So what did change, or what was the difference between Pacific Pursuit and then Payton Jordan?
So I think the 5Ks beforehand made a big difference. That's always, you know, I think if I can like shock my body into running a faster pace, then yeah, it just like always feels better to me to do that. And then also I think we really just like peaked. I'm not saying we didn't try and peak for Pacific Pursuit, but I think my training was just more like I did more track work and just more 10K specific stuff that I felt was, you know, like lactic miles and things like that, the painful types of like workouts. But I think just, doing the 5Ks and more kind of lactic like threshold stuff made a big difference for me going into Payton Jordan. But then also like Payton Jordan, just like, you know how they say like the magic of Stanford, I think that's like very much a thing. And although Pacific Pursuit was like a great event and a great opportunity to try and get that time, I think, it's just so hard to kind of like try and give you like a Payton Jordan experience. Like one day I'm pretty sure they'll find that track's like 5 meters short a lap. But, you know, until then I'll take the time.
For sure. So do you think there was not a huge difference in overall fitness between the two races? It was more just kind of like you said, sort of shocking your system into, I don't know, just sort of accepting those faster paces in some of those workouts?
I think also, like, I really committed to the pace at Payton Jordan, and I'm not saying I didn't at Pacific Pursuit, but it was just, I hadn't done a track race since, like, Europeans, and just being, like, I just felt really, like, claustrophobic, I think, at Pacific Pursuit. I felt really, like, trapped, and I was kind of at the back of the pack, like, I was, like, in the line at the back, and I just, for me, that isn't quite comfortable yet, whereas at Payton Jordan, I kind of put myself right up there, and although it was, like, an uncomfortably fast pace, and perhaps a little too quick for me through the first couple K, you know, it's important, it just, like, it makes me feel better doing it that way, and so that was also a difference, but I think also, I think it was just a transitional thing with, like, adapting to a new place, and I think I was a little naive coming here, maybe thinking, you know, it's only like 4 hours away from, or 5 hours away from Albuquerque, it can't be that different. And although it's not, and it's, you know, it's very similar to what I was doing before, and the training is still, you know, good mileage and everything. I think just, you know, living in a new place, and even, it sounds like pathetic, but a couple more 1,000 feet of altitude, I think that took me some time to kind of adjust physically and mentally how to like train with that, doing my easy runs like easier, and then also just being able to go when you go down to Camp Verde and Sedona. I think that took me a while to kind of, my body would always get out of the car and I just like feel rubbish. So I think it took me a while to kind of get into that. I'm just so relieved, honestly, that I could have that Payton Jordan race and like really feel like I put in a good like time, you know.
Sure. Yeah, and I do want to talk more specifically about Payton Jordan and how that race went, but before we do, leading up to the race, first and foremost, I know you did quite a few workouts with Steph Bruce, your teammate. How helpful, and obviously you have other teammates besides Steph, but how helpful has it been to have those ladies around and with you in those workouts?
It's been invaluable, honestly. Just Steph is such like a stable person to work out with. She doesn't like push the pace, or as in like she wouldn't try and just like, I feel like when I was younger, I used to kind of look around in the last rep and everyone would be like, okay, like, let's go. And there was always like a bit of a race, but Steph, like, you can just always feel so confident that she's going to absolutely nail the splits. And like, you know, we did a 12-mile steady state together a couple of weeks ago, and she's just on it like every single mile. Even with the hills and like wind, I'm just like, how, just like a human metronome. So, that's amazing. And also I think she's just, she's like a very, very positive person as well, which really helps me, because I think sometimes I get to Camp Verde and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible. And I know that I need to be perhaps a bit more like positive and probably not, and just like pretend that I'm fine.
Right.
But Steph's always like great at being like, no, it's fine, like you will feel bad for the first like mile, but like once you get over that, and she's just always like there with the advice, honestly,
Sure.
for the younger like ones in the team. So
Bit of a mentor, I suppose.
yeah, definitely a mentor for sure. And I mean, like Kellen and Alfie the same as well, but it's just the last couple of weeks I have been training with Steph more, so yeah.
Ben has said that physiologically he feels like you're a great fit for the team in terms of the type of training that you all are doing. Why is that, or why do you think he says that?
I think because honestly, I feel like when people start running, when they're younger, I think we discussed this perhaps last time, but they normally start off with the shorter distances.
Sure.
But I just completely skipped that phase. Like honestly, I was just younger and I was like, I'm just gonna go for a run, and so I went for like this 3-mile run by my village, and then I like just did the school cross countries. I never did like the 200 meters or the 400 meters.
Right.
So I don't think I've got like a fast twitch in my whole body. So I think honestly I'm just like long steady states. And that's something that I really focused on as well in New Mexico. Like every Friday we would do a 6 to 8 mile tempo, which, you know, speaking to like Danny and Grayson and Erin, like they didn't really actually do that, and I didn't realise that that's kind of like a UNM specific thing.
Okay.
Because we do these 6 to 8 mile tempos, and the guys do like 8 to 10. And yeah, I just thought that was quite normal for college teams, but I think that perhaps we were more. You know, I always said as well to Joe Franklin that like marathon was my ultimate like goal, and I think he probably, you know, thought about that as he was training me as well.
Sure.
So. Yeah, I think a lot of my training has been, I've always like known that I wanted to do the marathon for a young age. Like that's always been my end goal, is like the marathon.
Right.
And so I think a lot of my coaches in the past, well, I've only had 2, but they've all kind of, you know, had that in mind with their training plans.
I have a sense of your answer to this next question based on what you just told me, but since coming to NAZ Elite, what are some of your favorite workouts that you do?
Yeah, so definitely like a long tempo or steady state. I don't know, there's like different phraseology.
Sure.
That everyone keeps like joking with me about. Steph's always like, it's a steady state, not a tempo. But yeah.
Just a couple seconds different.
I know, exactly. I'm like, it feels like a tempo to me, Steph. But yeah, the tempos and the steady states at Lake Mary. For me, if I could do all of my training in Flagstaff, I think with Camp Verde, like, there's this, you know, it's supposed to be like 10 seconds or something a mile.
Yeah, because it's 3,500 feet.
Yeah, exactly. But I just, you know, if I could do, that seems crazy to me, because it's like, I feel like I could run at like 5:45 pace for quite a while on Lake Mary, but if I was in Camp Verde, it's like 5:30 pace?
Yeah, so 5:35, yeah.
If I was going to do like, I don't know, I just feel like maybe I'm an altitude runner.
Yeah, that could be.
So yeah, a long tempo on Lake Mary would probably be preferable. Although recently I have been actually, I shouldn't say this actually because Ben will watch this, but I have been enjoying the track sessions. I don't know why, there's just something like mentally like quite enjoyable on the track for me with like doing reps of things, and it's really good for me to gauge where I'm at as well.
Right.
It's like such a good pointer, I think.
Yeah, well, it's familiar, I imagine, right? So, yeah. And then there's quite a big component of your training is strength and conditioning. I know y'all go to Hypo 2 twice, is it twice a week? Once or twice?
Yeah, twice a week now.
I don't know your I guess history with strength and conditioning, but how beneficial has that been since joining the team? Yeah,
that's been huge for me. At the beginning, I was like a little unsure because I'm always a little, I feel like standoffish, I think, to weight coaches, because I'm kind of like I don't want to get injured, and like I'm kind of scared to like change up my strength routine. And in New Mexico, it was pretty wild. Like I just used to go with like Joe's wife to Define Fitness and do like body pump classes like 2 or 3 times a week, which I loved. I loved doing that, but I know like doing more running specific things, I think that's made a big difference, and having Wes kind of design a specific program for me to like really work on my weaknesses has been huge for me. Knock on wood for like injuries, but also just like helping strengthen like muscles for like speed stuff. And I've, you know, in the last couple of weeks or months, I guess, I've really noticed a big difference. And I know Ben thinks a lot of that is down to the weight training and everything that we do. And also it's just these things that like, it's kind of like a lot of it is rehab. And I think for me, it's like, that is something that I find hard to do at home. If like, unless it's like on a plan and I'm in a room with other people doing it, it's hard for me to do, you know, like the small muscle groups, like toe, whatever it is,
right.
you know, so it's like, it's good for me to like force me to do that, you know?
Totally. Yep.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the 2 5Ks you ran between Pacific Pursuit and Payton Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
So you ran one on the road in 16:05 and one on the track in 15:45. Mm-hmm. Again, you sort of alluded to this in terms of why you did them. A bit of like shocking your system back into running those faster paces. How much, I guess, confidence did you gain from those races between the 2 10Ks? So just in terms of your confidence level ahead of Pacific Pursuit versus Payton Jordan, what role did those 5Ks play?
I think just because I'd done so many 5Ks before 10Ks in New Mexico, it's easy for me to gauge, I think, where my fitness is at off 5Ks.
Okay.
But with Pacific Pursuit, I was just purely going off, you know, like training, like, I think I'm kind of in shape, but like I don't know if I'm track ready. Right. But once I ran, you know, I think if I'd done Payton Jordan after Carlsbad, I still would have been like, I know I'm fine, but I don't know if I'm quite like PR ready. Yeah. But I said to Bren, like pretty much straight after Mansac, I was like, I'm really ready to run a 10K now, just because that is such a good signal to me that you know, like I'm in shape. I'm typically like, it seems like this is how it goes anyway, however fast I run a 10K, I normally add 10 seconds on, and that's what I want to go through in a whenever I run for a 5K, I add 10 seconds on. That's what I want to go through 5K in the 10K.
Okay.
So yeah, I ran 15:45, and then we went through in like 15:53, I think it was, at Payton Jordan, and like I think my body is just like weird, and that feels way more comfortable. Just a couple seconds is like, really? I think that's just, you know, just below my lactic, whereas like that's just above my lactic. Sure. And it's like a real fine line for me. So, and that's how it's always kind of been. We've always seen that at UNM as well. I would run 15:55 and then I'd go through in 16:05. So it's just like, that's just how my body works, I guess. But yeah.
I wish you had a more detailed answer.
Yeah, I know what it's
because
actually.
My next question was going to be, how is it that you went through the 5K split at Payton Jordan only 8 or 10 seconds? I don't know, it was slower.
Really weird, because it's also a little embarrassing as well when like last year I did Stanford and I ran 32:15, and then I wanted to do the 5K at Payton Jordan, and I guess when they're working out the sections, they like put in my 10K time into some kind of pace calculator that tells you what you're supposed to run for a 5K, and 32:15 apparently should be 15:22 in the 5K.
Whoa. So
they put me in that fast section. I literally ran 15:56, I think I ran. And I mean, that kind of makes sense, because obviously in the 10K I went through in like 16:05.
Okay.
That's so many numbers. But I don't know what it is. It's just like, that's just my way of running. It's just such a fine line between lactic and not lactic.
Right.
It's not like it's not a range. It's literally just like probably a couple seconds.
They're right next to each other, yeah.
But I think at Payton Jordan, I knew I was running fast, and I didn't feel great in the first couple laps, and I think I thought to myself, if you just get a PR in the 5K, you can at least come away with that at the end. And then it kind of got to 5K, and I was like, actually, like, I'm kind of getting a second win now. So, I think that third lung or whatever they say from altitude kicked in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that very fine distinction between the pace you can run a 5K versus a 10K, that suggests to me that the marathon, that really would bode well for you. The fact
I hope so.
Yeah. You're just going to slow down like 8 more seconds for 5K and then run the full marathon.
Just add it on.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that you know, like for quite a few years now, I've been kind of running at like 5:45 pace. My body's like very used to that kind of marathon pace. And like, yes, I obviously want to be running faster than 5:45, but they wouldn't put me at like a disgraceful marathon, I don't think. If I was running, what would that be? I don't even know what 5:45 should be.
I think it'd be like a 2:30.
Yeah, so if I could just, you know, bring that down 10 seconds,
right,
then that would be great. But I do feel like I'm excited to, you know, try out the marathon and see what I can do. And I'm definitely excited to run another half marathon, because I really don't feel like I've reached my potential there. And then, you know, I did New York, and that was that was like a difficult course to kind of PR on. But I also, again, I just still wasn't quite feeling like it hadn't quite clicked for me at that point. So I'm excited. I'm doing San Diego half in a couple of weeks, and I'm hopeful, you know, I'm really due like a tailwind and a net downhill course. So if that could be designed, that would be great.
That I think that's what we all want. Yeah. We'll go sticking to Payton Jordan for a bit longer. You mentioned, I suppose, being a bit worried early on in the first few laps, like, oh, this is a bit fast. But
I was.
You just sort of stuck in there. Did you have? Yeah, did those worries just sort of go away, or did you just kind of turn it off and not let it bother you, or?
Well, I think so on the warm-up, I really did not feel good. And I know that's like a prerequisite to having a good race, that you have to feel bad, but you never can like talk yourself out of it. I feel like in the warm-up, you can never be like, oh, it's fine, you're going to have a great race because of this. You're like, I feel bad. And so, yeah, I kind of went in and I was like, oof, like, we'll see how this goes. And then we went the first lap, and I really thought you were going to come through and they're going to be like 69. So I was like, oh, this is quick. And they were like 77. And I was like, we're even like 2 seconds off. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be the longest 10K ever. And so then I'd already found myself, I was like in 4th at that point. And I was like, well, it's kind of like awkward for me to like get out of this. So I'm just going to have to keep going as long as I can. And so, yeah, they did for like the first mile, I was just trying to pep talk myself and be like, just try and stay in. And that's when I kind of decided, I was like, well, you're kind of on like 5K PR pace, so like let's try and do that at least. And then for some reason it got to like 12 laps, and I think we slowed to like 76 or 77 kind of pace. And like that's, you know, like that I've always noticed that in the 10K 1 second a lap can make such a big difference to how I feel. And last year that was like 78, 77 felt so much more, like 76 just felt so uncomfortable. Whereas this year I feel like 76, 77 feels kind of comfortable, and 74, 75 is still like a bit uncomfortable. So yeah, I think the pace just slowed a bit for kind of laps 12 to 18, and I think I kind of caught my breath again. And then the last 5 laps was just hideous. I was like in so much pain. I was dry heaving, and I was like, just get to the finish line.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, that was a bit of a mental battle, but in like a sick way, it's kind of like enjoyable in a 10K because you're like, I'm nearly there. So yeah.
So you were with a group that more or less was on the 31 on the world championship standard of 31:50, and so you sort of lost contact with that group in the last mile or so.
I mean, I just have no idea how they can run like 67
at that point.
So I think she ran like a 64 or something.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. I'd take that at the end.
I think I need to do, if I know, like those seconds need to be coming off in the middle laps. Like that that cannot be happening at the end.
Well, I'm gonna ask you. Your Ben believes that you have a better kick than you think.
Yeah, I know. He's telling me this.
I'll ask you about that in a minute. But what did you mentioned just sort of the mental battle, just kind of get there over those last 5 laps or so. But when you lose touch with a group, that can be obviously tough mentally, but what kept you, I don't know, kept you moving, I guess, at that point, or what was going through your head to kind of get you there?
I think I knew, like, I was running fast, so I was like, come on, like, what is 5 laps out of 25 laps? But then also, you know, like, I had Ben, like, shouting me the split, so it's kind of like every time you kind of are like, okay, like, he's there, and then you kind of pass the finish line, so it's like it's kind of like breaking up into little, like, things, and they had some people that I knew, like, cheering for me on the other side, so it was kind of just, like, keep getting to, you know,
the next point.
Yeah, the next point. But I think also, yeah, I just, like, was so, like, desperate to, like, have that, like, a good race, because I just felt like my last few races just haven't been to, like, my standard at least.
Sure.
And so, yeah, and I just didn't want to, like, throw away that opportunity. I knew, like, on the starting line, it's a great evening, the conditions were perfect, and I had such a great, like, competition, so for me to, like, waste that opportunity would have been, like, such a waste.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was your last lap? Do you remember?
You know, I don't think it was anything outrageous. I think it was, like, a 73 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, but there was no way I was going to be running like a 67 or 60. I guess I would have had to run a 66 because that would have actually been a 400 PR for me. And it really would have suggested I had not run fast enough in the rest of the race for me. But maybe one day, I don't know, it would have been really cool. Like, I don't want to say that I'm, like, disappointed, but because I'm so happy to break 32, but it's just so annoying to be that close. That could have really taken off a lot of, like, if I could have got that world champ standard, that would have been huge. But I'll take this time for now, and then I'll work on.
Sure. And right, so it was 31:56 to be clear. So you were 6 seconds off. You were the top Brit, however.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you feel about that in that field?
That was awesome, actually. Yeah. I wasn't really expecting to be the top Brit because, Eilish McColgan and then Charlotte Arter was also entered. She didn't actually end up racing. But, Eilish, she's amazing. She's got so many great times, behind her. And, I wasn't expecting, really, to be ahead of her. But I think she unfortunately had to drop out with, 4 or 5 laps left. Oh, no. So I feel like I think I might have been... I know there's one other Brit as well. But, there weren't that many of us in there, to be honest. But yeah,
I wasn't going to say that. But...
It's alright, I'll be honest about it. It was definitely an international mix that, we had some Aussies and we had some Japanese girls in there, and then obviously a bunch of Americans,
right.
Canadians as well. So yeah, it was cool. It was an international fair.
That's great. Well, looking ahead, you've mentioned you've got the Rock and Roll Half in San Diego. It's in June, I believe. Yeah,
June the 2nd, I think it is.
June the 2nd. And then you have... What else? You have something else on the schedule, yeah?
Yeah, Highgate, the trials.
Oh, okay.
That's on the 6th of July in England.
Got it.
And then, do I have anything else? I think those are just the 2 in front of me now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
In the goal there in July would be to shoot for the World Championships?
Yeah, and try and get top 3. So I've got 2 things to achieve.
You'd need both to get to Doha.
If they do take a discretionary pick, so if I got the time, then they might consider taking me.
Okay.
But I'd hope that getting 31:50 would put me in the top 3. Otherwise, everyone is on fire.
Yeah.
But you never know. People come out of the woodwork for for trial races and world champs. So I just always got to be on my toes. Don't know who's going to be there.
Right. And you would take a spot on the team, I imagine.
Oh yeah. I mean, I couldn't turn down a British team. I know it's going to be in Doha, and I know that's going to be so brutal and so hot.
Yeah.
But I think just the experience would be invaluable, and then also I think it's such a great opportunity, those races where the conditions are crazy. I really think that underdogs can have a good shot. And I'm not saying I'm going to go and win the World Championships, but I'm just saying if the conditions are perfect, it's kind of you can predict what the race is going to be. Yep. Whereas I think the marathon's going to be so fun to watch because it's what is going to happen?
Right.
It's just going to be so grueling on everyone's bodies, and it's just who can come out of that the toughest. So
right.
I think that it's kind of exciting in a way, probably a little daunting for anyone that does get selected, but
sure.
I mean, just to have your country in your chest is just such an honour, and I think it would be really hard for me to turn that down.
Certainly. So. And when is that World Championship?
That is in September, so it's actually really late this year.
Yeah.
I know they're starting the marathon midnight because it's going to be so hot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I ran a race in Doha in December, and we started at 6 p.m. and it was 87 degrees, I believe.
This last December?
It was a couple years ago, but
oh my gosh.
The point is,
Was that a trail race?
It was a world championship, but yeah.
Oh wow! Oh my god, how was that?
Oh, it was very hot. Yeah, it was very hot. So that what you're saying is absolutely true. The conditions are very tough, and it definitely allows for underdogs to potentially come out on top. Okay, so that's coming up this summer. We've alluded to the marathon a number of times in this conversation. When does Alice Wright take on the marathon?
I want to say it's a secret, but it's really not. I haven't decided one, honestly. I would love to do one this fall. It'd be really cool to do build-ups with my teammates. But yeah, we haven't said one in specific yet. So that's TBD.
TBD. Okay, but within the relatively near future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would love to target the marathon for the Olympics.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll just see, honestly, first of all, how the 10K goes. And then secondly, if I debut and I suck, then we're going to have a rethink.
Right.
Yeah.
So interesting question. If at the Olympics you could run the marathon or the 10K, which one would you choose?
The marathon.
The marathon, okay. So we're going to move to some rapid fire questions, but before we do, you've obviously been training, like we mentioned, with Steph Bruce and your other teammates, and you've seen a lot of success. All of you have seen a lot of success this year. So what sort of confidence do you each gain, I suppose, from each other and seeing those successes?
Yeah.
Like, in some sense, does it feel like transitive, like, oh, I was training with Steph and she won this
No,
half
definitely.
marathon?
I kind of spoke to, unfortunately I was the first one to go last week, so I am willing to go off, but I did say to Steph, I was like, oh, did that kind of give you some confidence, like Payton Jordan? And she said it did. And so, yeah, I think that it definitely helps. And just seeing, Alafine kind of set the tone. She ran 2:26 in Rotterdam. And I think then all of us were like, wow, we were just training with her a couple. And like, yeah, she had some grueling like marathon workouts that we didn't take part in. But, we have been doing things together. And I did a lot of my Houston build-up with Alafine. And I definitely like take confidence from other people's, not only their races, but I think also their workouts. It's just like, Kellen's been doing some like phenomenal workouts, and I think that's just like helps set the tone as well. It's kind of like, wow, if like Kellen can do it, then like we must give it, at least give it a try. We did this one in Camp Verde where it's like an all-out mile at the end, and I think Kellen's like success at that workout kind of gave Steph and I confidence to do it as well, and also gave us like a standard, an expectation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, couple rapid fire questions.
So what do I do here? Just answer as quickly as I can?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really think it over that far, I guess.
Okay.
But, a sentence.
What makes it rapid fire?
Yeah, they're just going to be quick.
Okay.
We'll see, like a sentence. Okay, so you've given yourself, what did you give yourself? A B+ for your grades?
Yeah, B+.
What would it take the rest of the year to get an A for your?
Oh gosh,
for your
okay.
year?
I think an A+ would definitely be qualifying for the World Champs.
Yep.
And then, having a good debuting well in the marathon, that would definitely be giving myself an A.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. The hardest workout you've had since you started with NAZ Elite?
Oh my gosh, I feel like...
All of them.
Yeah, this isn't going to be rapid fire. Let me think. I've probably had some... The whole time that I've been with NAZ.
Yeah.
It's actually funny, we were talking about this the other night. It was like one of the first ones we did at Beaver Creek. And it was Danny, Aaron, Grayson and I.
Okay.
And it was just, I felt like I was stuck in the Sahara Desert. Like, and I was like seeing like mirage. It was just like crazy. It was so hot. I didn't have a cap and we had to do, it wasn't anything that crazy like compared to some of the other workouts.
Right.
But I think it was like 7 miles out. And I'm like, I apologise to everyone. I made the mistake of pushing that 7 miles, which was definitely my mistake.
Then you start going downhill that last like mile or mile and a half.
Well then, so I pushed the first 7 miles. It was supposed to be easy, and then it was like a 2 minutes. We had to go 2 minutes fast, and then you could like do the rest of the mile however you want. But oh my gosh, I have like flashbacks to that day. I just thought I was like gonna die out there. Like it was just so hot and like unbelievable. I just like sold my soul in the first 7 miles and then just like jogged it in.
Paid
basically.
it all back.
Yeah, I paid it all back. So that was really tough.
And you can see for so far, like you can see the road.
And like the heat was like going off, so like the hills were kind of like waves. Oh, it was just, oh my god, yeah.
So one of your, not your favorite place down in the Camp Verde area for workouts. Your favorite place for workouts, you've sort of already answered that.
Probably Lake Mary Road when it's not windy. I really am not a fan of the wind. Not about that.
That doesn't happen very often, does it?
The wind?
No, the not wind.
Oh, I know, yeah. But normally, like, I try and, like, time it so we're, like, tailwind, Although apparently they're not really about that here.
Yeah.
I used to do that a lot in New Mexico. I really do my warm-up and warm-down. So I can do my whole session with the wind. But,
your favorite race since you started with NAZ Elite?
Payton Jordan was, like, really cool. But also just, like, the Wine 10K was amazing because I won. Like, winning is just so nice. And then the half marathons was such a cool experience. Like, New York and Houston, like...
Sure.
you're like treated like a queen at those events.
Right.
And then Carlsbad, honestly, like I don't think I've had a race that I didn't enjoy. Yeah, like Carlsbad was so fun. Like that place is just such a cool like venue for a race. So
yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, honestly, they all have their. I know that's such a lame answer, but all of them.
They've been great. Who is your funniest teammate?
Do you know, I do find myself laughing all the time, Alafine. with Alafine, not at her.
Not at her.
When we travelled to Houston together, like there were times where I like could not catch my breath. Like, that's kind of like we were laughing a lot on that trip. She is very funny. But yeah, I mean everyone's got their good sense of humour, honestly. We do have a good jokes on our team. So
sure.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Instagram. Mm-hmm. Who's got the better Instagram game, you or Grayson?
Ooh, Grayson for sure.
Grayson for sure.
He's got the better Instagram game.
It's just a question.
Yeah, definitely Grayson. Like, anything I know is probably off Grayson. Like, honestly, before I moved in, I didn't even know how to set a business profile or whatever.
Is that right?
Yeah, she's taught me the tricks of the trade. Yeah, I think I go through phases with Instagram. That's my problem. It's it's very obvious when I'm injured. Let's put it that way. Like I just go on a complete Instagram. Yes.
Wow, Alice hasn't posted in 2 months.
Yeah, exactly. She must be injured. But Grayson's just very good at being she posts consistently and stuff.
Right.
So I need to get more on a good kind of social media schedule. I think.
Good role model for that. Yeah. Well, Alice, congrats on your most recent PR, 31:56 at Payton Jordan. And best of luck getting that 31:50.
Thanks. Well, 31:59. How much would it suck to get 31:50 point something?
Oh, so it has to be 31:49.
Yeah, I think it does. Or you could run 31:50 flat, I think.
Okay.
But who does that?
Well, let's hope you get under 31:50.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for joining the podcast.
Thank you.